So up at Swanswater Fishery today and cracking morning. Nice ripple in the water, and the forecast wind and rain hasn't hit yet, so hopefully it doesn't, but really like it up here. Every time I've been here I've enjoyed it, so I know there's good quality trout in here, so let's try and catch a few.
So this is me starting my day, and as the day unfolded the wind did actually pick up. It wasn't the windiest day I've ever fished, but whilst I was there it was challenging at this area, where the wind was blowing in, the wind was picking up and then dying down again, and it just got me thinking that I would cover some tactics for fishing in the wind which might be useful for some beginners, and just some good practice when fishing in the wind to try and help you improve your catch rate and keep your sanity. So before we go on to that, obviously my last video had a competition to win 2 boxes of flies, so I've now picked a winner, and the winner is Jeff. So well done, Jeff, and I'm sure you'll enjoy these flies and catch many trout with them. Thanks to everyone for commenting. It's good to see everybody's favourite flies, and I'll try and do more things like that in the future. So on to the fishing now, and as I say, I just thought I would share my thought process, what I go through on a day where the wind picks up. It wasn't the worst day, as I say, today, but yeah, it was challenging enough at times when the wind got strong, so just share what I do. For example, I like to start fishing where the wind's blowing to. That's where all the food's getting blown to, and then I'll mix it up during the day. So on to some tips and good advice fishing in the wind. Tip 1 is by far the most important. Always protect your eyes when fishing in the wind. So I have 3 pairs of glasses in my box, and one with a clear lens, one with an amber lens, and one with a dark lens, which means I can fish safely in the wind no matter what the light condition is. It really is the most important thing you can do. I've had a hook in me in most places, but not my eyes. Next tip is to try and keep the wind over your left shoulder, or at least blowing left to right. Especially when it's really windy, it can get a bit dangerous if your flies are blowing in towards you, and so it's always best to try and keep it over your left shoulder, or if that's not possible, like here, the wind is going in a left to right direction. That just keeps the flies away from you when you're casting, and will cause you less problems. Next tip is to use a heavier rod and line, and this punches through the wind better. So like on this day I was using a 6 weight and a 7 weight. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're casting, especially into the wind, just to let your line carry out that bit further. Along with that, what I would also do is shorten your leader and go with a thicker diameter. In the wind it's less of a problem, there's a lot of disturbance on the surface, so the fish are less spooked, and shortening up your leader, and with a thicker leader it just makes your flies turn over a whole lot easier. What I would also do is, if it was getting really windy, is use a sink tip line rather than a floater. So depending where they are in the water, obviously, if you want to fish a washing line, if you put a sink tip on, it will just prevent that really fast drift, and just anchors your line in and makes it easier to fish that method. You can also use an intermediate line, so I like to use a slow intermediate, just get under the surface, and that way the wind's not affecting your line and you can effectively fish your flies back. What I tend to do is start the day to fish where the wind is blowing. Now that's where all the food's going, and it can be difficult to fish in that area. That's why I like to do it at the start of the day when I'm still full of energy and enthusiasm, and then as the day goes on you can move about. But yeah, it's a great area to fish where the wind is blowing. One of the most important things to do is to constantly check your leader for wind knots. No matter how good you are, it is so easy to get a knot in your line when it's really windy, and it really does pay to check it every so often. It's a pain, but it's more of a pain if you do get one and then hook a nice fish and lose it. And my last tip is take shelter. From time to time it will get tough. Don't fish in the wind all day. I find that just gets too demoralising when it gets really windy. So if you start in the morning in the difficult places, and I tend to move about, get a break, and then go back to that area if it's producing. So that's just what I think about when I'm tackling a day where it's windy. Never easy, line blowing around your feet, battling with the elements, but yeah, it can pay off fishing in these areas. That tree claimed a few must flies. The wind was blowing my line in that very direction. But to start with, I'd set up with a bung with a fly just suspended 2 feet under. There was a lot of weed at the side, so that just helped me stay above it. I had a tungsten caddis on, and yeah, just casting it out, letting the wind drift it round just above the weeded area, and didn't take too long after starting this method, and I was into a fish. I had been fishing before that with multiple flies, but right at this area, I mean, to be honest, the whole fishery, there was a bit of an issue with weed. There was quite a lot of weed, making it difficult really to fish effectively in some spots. Now, it's no reflection on Swanswater. I've been there many times and there's never been a real issue with weed, and I believe they're getting a new weed cutting machine next week. But yeah, it was a bit of a challenge with the wind and the weed, but switched over to just using a bung after having not much success with multiple flies and catching on the weed, having to constantly take the weed off. So that's why I switched over to the bung, and just having that one fly just under the surface drifting round. And as soon as I went on to that method, I had a few pulls, and then yeah, got this fish to the net. It was good to have my first fish of the day.
Yeah, nice wee rainbow. Caught on a caddis.
I then changed up my setup because I'd moved further up towards the dam wall where there was less weed, but it was really quite windy. So I had 2 flies and had a hopper and a dropper and a lovely little blue flash damsel on the point. I was able to fish this quite effectively, quite close in, so this fish actually took on the hang. So yeah, at this area the weed wasn't as much of an issue. I'd been fishing the washing line, I'd get in the dropper snagged on weed all the time where I was. Had to change methods quite a few times, obviously got one on the bung. Then I just moved up here a bit near the dam wall, and yeah, as I say, on the way in, and always very important to hang your flies, and that's where this guy hammered it. Beautiful quality fish as always at Swanswater. It's something that really stands out against other places. The quality of the fish are always spot on, and they're always lovely and pink flesh if you like to eat them. So after being blown about quite a bit up at that end, I decided it was time to get some respite and moved over to an area which was pretty sheltered. Again, over here there was quite a lot of weed, so I was trying different methods, washing line. I was trying just casting out far with a couple of flies, but on the way back in you just kept hitting weed. So there was a few fish rising here, so I went onto the dry fly for a while and did get a bit of action in that the fish were coming up and really splashing at the fly but not taking it. It was just like they were trying to drown it. But yeah, I mean, it was important just to get out the wind for a while. Just a nice relaxed session today, and it's no much fun standing in that all day. But yeah, I came over to this side and started playing about with a few methods, trying to keep away from that weed. I was here actually with someone who got in touch on one of my videos. So Craig had previously met when I was out fishing before I started doing YouTube videos. Just happened to meet him one day and managed to help him catch a few fish by giving him a fly that was working, and he got in touch through my video, so that was pretty cool. So we arranged to come up here, and he brought his father-in-law who's quite new to fishing. So yeah, it was good to get out with those guys. And yeah, as you'll see later on, the day was made by his father-in-law actually catching the fish of the day, a nice big goldie. So I changed location again, and it was again nice and sheltered out of the wind, and was trying to just basically find an area where I could get my flies and fish them effectively. So I went over to this peg, and what actually happened here was there was lily pads at the side there, and what I had just dropped my fly just over the lily pads, and I was fishing 2 naturals, and as soon as I dropped them over there and let it sink, a fish absolutely hammered the fly. It was just sitting underneath the lily pads clearly, and as it seen them drop, it smashed them. Now, snapped me off immediately. I think it was maybe a big brown or a big tiger. So yeah, I had to reset up, tried again over in that area, but not much joy. Obviously the fish was snapped off. But this was a nice little area to fish, and I went back onto a 2 fly setup. Now 7.5 feet to the dropper and 8 feet to the point fly. Just using the smaller naturals, which on my dropper I had a size 14 hare's ear Diolbach style fly, and on the point I had a little weighted pheasant tail. After a while fishing this spot, hooked into a nice fish, and yeah, wind had died down a little bit at this point as well, and the sun had come out, which was perfect. Nice to get that respite. Still up at the dam wall, it was quite windy all day, but yeah, good to get into another fish, and nice to see the sun out.
So easily open up your eyes and see there's more to our story. Baby, open up to me, don't give up so easily. Open up your eyes and see there's more to our story.
So as I'd mentioned earlier, Robert had hooked into and landed a beautiful goldie at about £6.5, so I was going down there for a look and just to fish that spot, because there seemed to be quite a few fish holding down there and cruising about, so I thought I'd go down and give it a go.
I'm just good at caring too much. I'm just good at caring too much. Is it too much to ask that you be all mine? I never was good at sharing. I'm just good at caring too much. I'm just good at caring too much. I'm just good at caring too much. Is it too much to ask that you be all mine? I never was good at sharing. I'm just good at caring too much.
So that concluded my day and had a great time. Battling the elements a bit, battling some of the weed, but still had a good time. Got my 4 fish and that'll feed the family this week. And yeah, always enjoy my time at Swanswater. Great little fishery. So I'll just leave you now with just a quick shot of Robert and he's cracking Goldie. Well done again, Robert. It's a cracking fish, and I can tell that's you now. Definitely got the fly fishing bug, and I'm sure we'll be out fishing again at some point in the future. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Beautiful condition, eh?